Hello once again, everyone, and welcome back to Wallerstein. So last time we went over some of the initial sword takings. This time we're going to go ahead and keep going. So now I have helping me Ali, her first time appearing, and we're going to go over two different sword takings. The first of which is really more of just a technique for a general strongman. I swear I didn't select Ali just specifically for this, but the general idea is that your size and strength will matter in this first technique, versus the second one can really be done by anyone. Not that this first one couldn't be done by anybody, but just that it does specifically say a good technique, an unusual technique for a strongman. So what's going to happen here is, once again, we're going to find ourselves down in the scales as normal. Now, Ali is going to start to wind up against me. Yep. Now, go ahead and turn all the way over. There you go. Right? As this wind is coming in, I am going to step forward and in and keep my long edge onto her sword to push again. Now, we'll see this entry a couple different times. Most of the sword takings involve either we're dealing with the wind as it's coming out toward us, or we're crushing in against them to prevent them from going around. Now, an important note on this, if you go and pull this off, is push it at their strong, not at their weak. If you push in at the weak / the side, she is prompted to throw a Zverkow or something along those lines. Even if she didn't actually want to, people will kind of by default end up doing that. So, crush in at the hands instead, and you'll be able to do things a little easier. I've said it before. Now, the next part of the play is honestly the most simplistic, like almost kind of dumb thing I've ever heard, but it works really well. She's going to wind up. I'm going to crush in, and I'm going to push with both hands against her lead arm / her torso, which, as you see, causes her to fall away from me. Now, if you can get the angle right, you can also cause them to turn around, which is the preferred end of this play. And from there, you strike them in the back of the head. As the image shows, the person who's getting struck is facing fully away, the other person is just belting them. Now, obviously, you can't do this in friendly sparring or competition because you'll end up just hurting somebody. You know, striking the back head, never a good idea. Been there, felt that, not fun, right? But a modification you can do, if you manage to turn someone, right, and there are various different turns that we will see, would be like so. So we're down here, she starts to wind up, I crush in, and I get this push. Go ahead and just present a point or something along those lines, either by going to half sword, or just stay out of distance and just point. Any good judge will realize you had more than enough tempo to absolutely hurt them, and you chose not to. So that's generally a good one. So I'll go ahead and throw on my mask, show that a couple times. Very simple one, but just to show you what it looks like with a bit more speed, and then we'll move on to our next play. And then from the other side. Again, nothing too complicated, but if you have a serious size / strength advantage over your opponent, might as well use it. Now, our next play is going to be something a little bit more interesting. So for our next play, what we're going to do is, we're actually going to do a similar sword taking to what we did in the last video, but these can kind of be thought of as inverses of each other. The first one, what happened is, we came into the scales, she wound up against me, and I pushed in. Actually, no, she didn't wind up against me. I think I wound up against her. Yeah, I did. We came in, I wound up against her, and she kind of raised her arms against it. I took my left hand off, grabbed, and then could either pommel or something along those lines. Same idea is going to happen here, but this time I'm going to take my right hand off and attack a slightly different window. So, we come in, I'm going to wind up against her, which prompts her to raise her arm / reinforce. In this tempo, I'm going to take my right hand off as I step up. I'm going to reach between our hands. Now, the images differ. Sometimes it shows grabbing onto the guard. If someone is wearing heavies and you're wearing heavies, I recommend grabbing onto their lead wrist. You can even, if you can, reach onto their back wrist. Either way is fine, but what I want to do is once I grab, I'm going to pull toward my side. Now, at the same time I do this, I'm going to push with my cross guard to get her sword down. and this is a specific quote, is it says, push with the cross as you pull them toward you. The reason that we're doing this is it now prevents her from doing any sort of backhanded snapping or things along those lines. It also sets me up very nicely for my follow-up technique. Now, I will tell you, depending upon who you're fighting, there may be one of two footwork responses to being pulled. As you saw there, when I pulled on her hand, Allie stepped forward with her back foot and ended up left foot forward. Other people may step forward with their right foot. If they step up with their left foot, don't go for the throw. Just take the pommel. If they step forward with their right foot, the throw is an option. So, what that'll look like to finish off, right, is I wind up, reinforces, step up, pull. She's right foot forward, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the pommel that is just showing out of my hand. I'm going to just bring it back up along that line and drive her over my leg. So it very much is the idea of 1, 2, quite hard. Now, it's debatable as to whether or not the pommel is the focus of this or the throw. I would say do both. If you're in a tournament that doesn't allow you to throw people, just stop at the pommel. Another important note that I hear get asked quite a lot is, hey, if my hand is actually on the pommel and I throw a pommel strike, would a judge count that? Generally, yes. Pommels are dangerous, so people are going to be on the hand. But if you're looking for, more realistic practice, if you wanted to pommel someone, you're going to want to move your hand up. Otherwise, that is going to hurt. But either way, I'll show it once again, then I'll throw my mask on. So here, I wind, up, in, down, boom. And you just drive them through. So now I'm going to throw my stuff on. We'll show it a couple times, and then we'll be done. Wrong thing. Sorry, old habits. Another thing I generally recommend is you'll have a lot of energy when you pull this down. You don't need to put your whole body into throwing them. And if you do want to throw them, I recommend if you can, get closer so your elbow is more across them as opposed to hitting with the pommel. Well, let's show that from the other side. You got it. And that's really it for these first two plays here. Like I said, relatively simplistic, and the second one especially is pretty much just you put your other hand on their hands. It's very similar to the one we did last week. But from here on, they're going to get a little more niche, a little more interesting. We'll get another strongman technique. But in general, we're almost done. So hopefully you've been enjoying the series a lot. Thank you very much, Allie, hiding behind me. Right? And we will go over some other Wallerstein techniques, if I can get my glove off, another time.